He's had a career that spanned more than 3 decades, and the last 6 of those has been as the Lane County Sheriff. Sheriff Cliff Harrold is here now with me. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, thank you.
And I know you're embarking upon retirement, but first let's go back a little bit. Let's go back into time. Tell me about how things started out in public safety for you as a cadet.
Yeah, so as a 16-year-old, I was working a high school job at a gas station in Cresswell, and there was a local deputy that would stop in and buy a cup of coffee, but was also very intentional about interacting with the high school youth that ran the gas station. And one day I asked him enough questions about his job that he said, well, you should probably come do a ride along with me. And so I did. I jumped in his car and rode with him for about 6 hours. And what I remember most is not that we did anything super exciting, but I remember trying to understand the radio traffic, and basically dispatch tells a mini story. There's this thing going on at this location, and then tells units to go help them figure it out. And that was just really attractive to me, the idea of riding around waiting to be sent to go help someone sort something out. And so I went home after that ride along and told my parents I knew what I was going to do with my life. And I tried to do another ride along shortly thereafter, and the sergeant handed me an application for the cadet program and said, you have to do this first.
Wow.
So I applied and spent a lot of time.
And from cadet, you've done what jobs in the sheriff's office?
Yeah, so of course got hired as a deputy once I turned 21, and worked in the Lane County Jail for about 2 years. And most of our deputy sheriffs start in the jail. We really like the skill building that happens in that environment prior to going out on patrol. And then I transferred over. I worked in court transport, where you're taking folks who are in custody to their court hearings and then taking them back to the jail. Came out to patrol, worked as a patrol deputy. Spent about 9 years as a deputy sheriff before I promoted to sergeant. Then promoted to sergeant. I was a patrol sergeant in the main office for a few years, and then I transferred over to be a supervisor of those contracts like Cresswell and Bonita, the way that I got into the business. I was the detective sergeant for a little while, and spent about 10 years as a sergeant, which is that first line supervisor, small team leader, before I promoted into management. So and I worked as a lieutenant in the police services division. I worked as a captain in both police services and the corrections. And then I was Sheriff Byron Trapp's chief deputy for 3 years before his retirement. And then I was appointed as sheriff, and I've spent the last 6 years doing that.
Well, Sheriff Harrold, tell me about the challenges you faced and how you've overcome them as sheriff.
Yeah, so the last 6 years in particular have been an incredible honor and privilege. I have loved the opportunity to invest in the people of the office and to recruit quality people of good character to be serving our community. I've loved all of that. My wife has been a terrific partner with me in that. There's been plenty of challenges in the last 6 years. The first and biggest one that jumps out at me is the Holiday Farm Fire. Happened fairly early on for me as a sheriff, and that was a really significant impact to our community, where I was involved in a unified command situation with fire professionals and making really impactful decisions regarding the community. And of course, we've had a number of things, COVID, which I don't want to talk about, but challenges to get through. I would say the biggest challenge to the Lane County Sheriff's Office is the same challenge that it's had in the 30 years I've been with it, which is our budget problem. And that relates to the fact that Lane County used to have a lot of logging that happened on federal lands, and the county budget received a portion of that revenue. And so once logging was curtailed, the federal government replaced that revenue for a period of time, but no longer does to the extent they once did. And so for a metro county that's practically the size of Connecticut, we're incredibly understaffed. And so that's a real challenge, and it weighs heavily, particularly on me as sheriff. We've always had that challenge, but as the sheriff, being the person that's sending folks out every night to do the work that they do for Lane County, and knowing how ridiculously understaffed they are, has been hard for me, both because I'm sending deputies out and I worry about their safety, but also because I want us to do better for the community. And everybody that works in the office, we want to be able to do a better job. Our average response time to assault calls is an hour and a half, and that's completely unacceptable. But it is our reality because we just don't have the funding and the people to put out for a county our size.
And speaking of the people, how many deputies do you currently have to send out?
Yeah, so our total deputy sheriff in both the police services function and the jail function is about 200. Most of those are on the jail side, and I'm really, really proud of the work we're doing in the jail, which we're able to do because of the public safety levy, which was renewed in 2023. That provides funding just for the jail function, and so we're doing great work in our jail, really proud of it. Over on the patrol side, a total sworn from the captain all the way down is about 70, but that's mostly because we contract with so many people. City of Crestwell, City of Veneta, Oregon State Marine Board, Oregon Parks, Bureau of Land Management. Most of those deputies are actually contract deputies. The County General Fund, the property tax funded deputies that go out to provide police services to unincorporated Lane County, we currently have 30 of those. What's interesting, in 1979 there were 100 deputies. Currently we're budgeted for 30, and our population has increased by 100,000 people.
Wow. So I know that the budget is a big issue, staffing. Are there any other major issues that the incoming sheriff will have to face?
Yeah, you know, I really do believe the incoming sheriff's main issue will be the budget. And outside of that, of course, we all know that we're in a period of time where mental health and folks in mental health crisis and the intersection of mental health crisis and public safety is an area that we've been working on for a long time. Again, I'm real proud of some of the work we're doing at the jail to work with folks who are in mental health crisis and to prepare our deputy sheriffs for how to interact and to think differently about folks that are coming into our custody. But the reality is our whole country, the state of Oregon for sure, but our whole country is struggling with this issue. And the fact that because there's not enough mental health support out in the community, the public safety system ends up being a safety net. And what is heartbreaking for me is interacting with family members who have a loved one who's headed down a path of mental health crisis, and they're desperate to help their loved one, but they can't figure out how to help them. And they end up sort of throwing their hands in the air and saying, well, maybe they'll get arrested and then they'll get help. But the reality is the public safety system isn't the best way to help folks that are headed down that path. If we could intervene earlier on and get them the mental health help that they need prior to the public safety system, that's a much better way. So lots of meetings, lots of conversations. I've been involved in a lot of those conversations. You know, in the local area, Lane County is trying to build a stabilization center, a crisis stabilization center. Peace Health is working on a new mental health hospital. And so hopefully we're going to, in the future, have a better way to help folks prior to the public safety system. That's certainly a goal.
Well, you mentioned Peace Health. Let's go in that direction. Yeah. You're moving on to Peace Health to head their security. Tell us about what that position entails.
Yeah, well, you know, honestly, I have a whole lot to learn. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to learn something new. I do know that part of my job will be that liaison between the local law enforcement agencies and Peace Health. You know, for example, the Cottage Grove Hospital and the Cottage Grove Police Department and relationship building there. Same thing over in Florence. Riverbend obviously is a priority, and I know that my position will meet regularly with leadership from Springfield Police and Eugene Police and the Sheriff's Office and the State Police. So I'm excited about that because I'll get to stay connected with all my brothers and sisters for the last several years. And then also I'll be making new relationships and learning more specifically in that medical environment and making sure that it's a safe environment for the workforce to come to, right, and a safe environment for the public that is coming there seeking services.
So what makes this role a better fit for you at this stage in your life?
You know, I think it's just a gift to me to be able to have this role as a transition into eventual real retirement. You know, I have 30 years in public safety, a little over, and there's a saying in public safety, the military, sometimes your sponge gets full. And so I have felt that over the last 6 years. I look back to 2019 and today and sort of losing some of my energy, losing some of my resiliency related to my current role. I think the Peace Health role, I'm excited to learn something new. I also believe that it'll allow me the opportunity to be mentally present when I'm home with my wife, with my family, in a way that the sheriff position, oftentimes I'm distracted, and I may be physically home, but I've just received a text or some information about something that's going on 24/7 that has me mentally back focused on work or worrying about the people in the office. I love the people at the sheriff's office so much. I really do, every one of them, and think about them a lot, and I worry about them when they're out doing their work, and that's not going to go away. I'm going to continue to do that, but it'll feel differently as I transition into this other role.
Tell me this, when the county is seeking a new candidate, what will that candidate need to be successful to improve upon staffing and work with these deficits?
Yeah, well, I think what's most important is a real clear understanding of the Lane County Sheriff's Office. We are unique. When I had the opportunity to go to the FBI Academy in 2017, that's in Quantico, Virginia. It's 10 weeks. You're with 225 people from all over the country that are police leaders. Our situation is so unique. When I would describe what we do, going from east of Oak Ridge to south of Florence between calls, folks from other parts of the country just can't wrap their mind around that. They really think we're the wild, wild west over here. And so sometimes when folks come to our area from other locations, they've been involved in law enforcement somewhere else, it is such a shock because it's so different. Also, the Lane County Sheriff is responsible for Lane County Jail, and that is a very, very big responsibility. And so the next sheriff needs to understand, I mean, we're running a small city there, really. I mean, medical care and food and all the needs, plus the security needs and providing access to attorneys and all of those things. That's a big deal. And so the next sheriff needs to have a real clear understanding of that. So Carl Wilkerson has been my chief deputy for the last 6 years. He's been an incredible partner to me. We've done so much as a team, and I'm really, really proud of the leadership team at the Sheriff's Office, not just Carl, but our division commanders and our lieutenants. It's a terrific team. And frankly, I think that Carl Wilkerson will do a fantastic job as sheriff. I think that he's spent the last 6 years helping me be sheriff, so he's very well prepared. I've asked the Board of County Commissioners to appoint him as the next sheriff, and so I'm hoping that that's what happens. I think anybody that's in leadership that isn't preparing someone to take their job is not doing the full job of leadership, and so that's been my goal as I've worked with my leadership team, preparing Carl to take my job, but also that next level. And I feel like I inherited a legacy through the Sheriff's Office. We work on career development opportunities and that sort of stuff, and so I think the team is great, and they're well prepared to continue to move the agency forward.
And roughly how many inmates do you have at the jail?
So our capacity currently is 411 beds is what we're operating, and because of the public safety levy, we're able to do that right now. Our population really fluctuates quite a bit, total population, and really ever since COVID and the way the courts and the whole public safety system changed during COVID has continued to sort of change the way we manage our population. A quick example of that is we've increased the amount of electronic monitoring that we have available. And so pretrial services, which is a function of the court, not the sheriff, they make release decisions, and they are making release decisions in a way that corresponds sort of how they started doing it during COVID to keep the population down. But we have electronic monitoring so that for some of these folks that have been charged of violent crimes, we can continue to make sure that we're keeping an eye out for public safety while we're waiting for them to go through their court process.
Well, I started you out with the challenges, but I would love to also know the highlights. That's important as well.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I have absolutely loved my career. I loved coming to work. I am so thankful that I got to have 30 years at the Sheriff's Office. I've loved the Sheriff's Office. I tell all of our new staff that my goal is that they love working here as much as I have, and also that they reach retirement age physically healthy, but also mentally and spiritually healthy, and with their relationships good. So my highlight is the people. I'm so proud of the people that do the work day in and day out of Lane County Sheriff's Office. I think they're super special and unique. They're internally driven to serve their community because we don't have enough external incitements to convince people to do that kind of work. It has to come from inside. And I have just loved getting to watch and really serve them. You know, as a deputy sheriff, I was the one out serving the community, but once I promoted up, really I'm serving the people who are serving the community. And I've loved the opportunity to that. I love watching them grow in their careers and watch their families grow up. I've gotten to have a group of peers that we all grew up together and watched our families grow up, and now I'm watching that next generation, and I've loved that, and I plan to continue to love that. I intend to still be around, and I want to keep being an encouragement to them and a cheerleader for them. So.
And luckily, you get to maintain those relationships in a different capacity, but.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us here today, Sheriff Cliff Harrold. We appreciate it. And congratulations on your retirement. I know it's not the official retirement, but step in that direction.
It is, yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.